Hey Watchaholics, welcome back to my channel. Guys, today I'm going to be talking about the top movies that I watched in 2022. Now, if you watched my last video, which was the top TV shows that I watched, I did mention the fact that I watched a lot of stuff. And so much stuff was actually just very mediocre. And I have to say, that's how I felt about most of the movies that I watched last year. I wrote a list down of everything I watched, which to be fair, I didn't watch, I had mentioned this before, I didn't watch a lot of movies that I really, really wanted to. I really missed like a good bunch of like stuff. So before we get into today's list, guys, of course, if you're new here, please don't forget to subscribe. If you're already subscribed, thanks for coming back. Appreciate it. So let's get into this list.
Number 6.
So number 6, and I don't know if this is an actual film, but it's something that I really, really enjoyed watching, and it really just warmed my heart, and it made me emotional, and it was just great to see. It was a great documentary, I guess. Is it a documentary? I don't really know. It was a reunion special, and it was the Harry Potter 20th anniversary, and honestly, it was so much fun to watch. I really, really, really loved it. It was so emotional getting to see these actors back in the room together who haven't seen each other in years. It was beautiful to hear stories and hear behind the scenes things that we didn't know. And obviously, it was also really nice. It's actually the last time we got to see Robbie Coltrane, who did pass away last year, who plays Hagrid. So that was so nice that he was in that special, and he said something that was so wonderful, and it was pretty much along the lines like, I won't be here, but Hagrid will be here for many, many generations. My kids, grandkids. And I thought that, like, just thinking about it right now could like actually bring me to tears because, you know, that's the last time we saw him. I'm like, oh my God, you're killing me. I'm an emotional person. But I thought that was beautiful. And I loved seeing Daniel Radcliffe, Rupert Grint, Emma Watson all in a room together again. Just talking about their experience as kids, finding out things that I never knew. Like, I had no idea that Emma Watson wanted to quit. Had no idea. So, just hearing these things was great. And it was just nice to be brought back into that world. And I don't know, it brought me so much joy. So that was a great one. Now, my top 5 movies, and when I thought about my list, like I said, there was a lot of like mediocre stuff on it, or just, I don't want to say mediocre, but just things that were just like, okay. Like, I'm like, great. Would I watch this again? Probably not. So everything that's in my top 5 is basically things that I would definitely watch more than once. That's kind of how I make my lists, is I kind of think about what movie would I sit down and watch again, or which movie would I highly recommend to someone else to watch.
Number 5.
And this one was another my number 5 was actually this was a movie that was very surprising to me, that I actually really, really enjoyed, and I thought was a great film. I was shocked, and it was Netflix's The Adam Project. What the heck? Never thought that I would say that I actually thought this movie was one of the best movies I watched in 2022. It really surprised me. And of course, let me just, before I continue this list, of course, this is just my list. Okay, my list, what I watched, what I thought. Of course, you don't have to agree with any of the things on my list, which I'm pretty sure once we get to the number 1 and number 2, and you probably won't agree, and that's fine. Like I said, it's just my list. But this movie really surprised me. It had heart, it had action, it had some really good acting. It was emotional. I mean, Mark Ruffalo, we had Zoe Saldana, we had Ryan Reynolds. I mean, Jennifer Garner. We had Jennifer Garner and Mark Ruffalo in a room together again. What the hell? 13 going on 30, please. I mean, that alone was enough for me to be like, yes, I am in. I'm watching this. It was great. I had never thought I would cry in a movie like that. I definitely teared up by the end. It was a beautiful father-son story. Just really well done. Highly recommend if you've never seen it on Netflix. It was a big surprise for me for 2022. Came out of nowhere.
Number 4.
Wakanda Forever. Wakanda Forever was the last movie of Phase 4, which, as we all know, Phase 4 has been a huge mess. Phase 4 of Marvel, to be more specific, if you don't watch Marvel, Phase 4 of Marvel has been a complete mess. I think nothing in this Phase 4 connected at all to the rest of where we're going. I mean, not at this point. We couldn't really tell, at least in my eyes, I couldn't really tell where anything is going. And I think that's how most people felt about Phase 4. But I will say they ended strong with Wakanda Forever. Loved this film. Beautiful film. Emotional. Oh my God, especially because they really had to grapple and, really work around Chadwick Boseman's death, and the way that they incorporated it in this, I think they did a swell job. I Ryan Coogler, I just give him. I can't even tell. I can't even like I just bow my head down to Ryan Coogler because I can't imagine how hard it was to have to rewrite your story and create a new story that would still, bring people to want to watch this film, to continue the story, to continue this legacy without Chadwick Boseman. And I think they did a great job. I really loved it. It was emotional. I cried like 3 or 4 times in the movie theater. The trailer alone, I just want to say, the trailer alone for this film, I watched it, I don't know how many times because, of course, Ryan Coogler just knows how to make a good freaking trailer with the music. Oh my god, I could just think about it right now. It was just going to be so good with that whole It's Gonna Be All Right by what's it called? It was like Kendrick Lamar, and then it mixed in with a Bob Marley song, Everything Gonna Be All Right. Everything gonna be alright now. Everything gonna be alright. Oh, it was so freaking good. Oh my god, one of my favorite trailers, like I have seen in a very, very long time. I could just rewatch that trailer because it just got me so hyped. It was so well done. But back to the movie, I thought the movie was also genuinely one of the best films of 2022. I think they did a wonderful job. We had some nice little cameos. I don't want to talk about it if you hadn't seen it, but I was really, really happy with what was shown. And again, this movie did, however, feel like a very standalone film. I don't know how this would ever connect to anything going forward, especially with what is coming in 2023 with King the Conqueror. So this movie felt like a very standalone film. Kind of a little bit, even like Black Panther. I always felt like Black Panther was its own thing. Like, yeah, eventually like the movie did connect us, or the character was connected to others. But the movie always felt to me like a very standalone, like, this is Wakanda, this is the story. But yeah, great film.
Number 3.
And this is a movie I watched twice, so already watched it twice. So, to me, it is fantastic. And it was The Batman, another. I never thought in a million years that I would see Edward Cullen, a vampire, become a bat for the Batman. Robert Pattinson played Bruce Wayne / the Batman, and I have to say he surprised me. And Robert Pattinson is a great actor. I think people are kind of know that now. I think there might be that group of people might be like, oh, that's weird. It's the guy from Twilight, and we got to move on. Kristen Stewart, Robert Pattinson are actually really amazing actors. I think they were just in a movie very, very long time ago that I can't even say was bad, because when I watched these movies, they were everything to me. I loved the Twilight series. I loved those movies. Like, now when I rewatch them, I'm kind of like, ooh, I can see how these can be bad.
You better hold on tight, Spider Monkey.
But when they came out, they were everything. I loved every second of it. So I don't hate at all. They both have done amazing careers for themselves, and I think Robert Pattinson in this was fantastic. He fit the part well. I know people kind of felt like he wasn't really Bruce Wayne, that he was really just kind of like moody and broody all the time, and like, I don't like, it was like weird. And I'm like, number one, we have to remember this is Batman before he became the Bruce Wayne, before he became Christian Bale. This is like year 2 Batman. He still hasn't figured out his persona that he wants to become outside when he's not Batman. Who is he pretending to be? That person has not been created yet, which is why I'm looking forward to the sequel, because yes, there is going to be a sequel, and I hope there's going to be a third one too. I hope it's a whole freaking trilogy, because this movie was dark. The action, it was real. It was really grounded in reality. Just absolutely. It was even it was a thriller. It was even a little bit scary at times. Like, I genuinely was like, wow, this was very dark, real Gotham City, and I loved it. So give me more, please. Please give me more. I love it.
Number 2.
This was a hard one for me. 1 and 2 were a hard one for me, because these are 2 movies that I absolutely loved this year. And it was number two. And remember, number two and number one are fluctuate from time to time. And I might be getting haters, but number two goes to Top Gun Maverick. Guys, what a surprise of a film. I have seen Top Gun maybe once in my life. Movie came out in the 80s, so it was a little bit before I was born. I was born in 89. So I saw this later on. What was great about this movie was I felt like you didn't need to see the first Top Gun to understand this movie at all, because they gave you enough backstory for you to understand exactly who these characters were in Top Gun and how they relate to the new characters. I thought it was beautifully executed. It was, yeah, it was nostalgic, but it wasn't like let's throw it in your face nostalgic. It was well, really, really well done. It wasn't like let's throw this in for fan service. No, it all connected. It had heart. Oh my god, seeing these people in the planes. Oh my god, it looked, I mean, I'm pretty sure a lot of it is real, but my god, if you didn't watch this in the movie theater, it was fantastic to see in the movie theater. I absolutely loved it. I watched it in the movie theater. I wish I watched it in IMAX, but I didn't. There's not a lot of IMAX theaters here in BC. Fun fact. There's not a lot. I genuinely thought this film was top notch gold. I think it's nominated for an Oscar. Whew, great film. My God, I could watch this movie. I think I've watched it twice now, but I can rewatch it like so many times because I enjoyed myself so much. It had so much heart, so much heart. It was great. And of course, you got Lady Gaga freaking singing your freaking song. Oh, just hold my hand, Lady Gaga. I will hold your hand. Oh my God. Beautiful. Great. Okay, my number one favorite film of the year.
Number 1.
And I know people will hate me for this, but I'm going to say it because I've never hated this movie. And it's Avatar. The Way of Water is my favorite movie of 2022. I mean, the film was just, in my opinion, just elevated the industry, the movie industry, elevated what we can do and what people are not doing. It was, I don't care what people say. In my opinion, I loved this film. I loved every second of it. People thought it was boring. They're like, oh, it's the same thing, rehashing, like they're learning new things. I didn't care because to me, I felt like, honestly, I felt like this movie was a setup for number three. That's what this movie did. All it did, it was kind of like a little middle. It was kind of like, okay, let's introduce these people so that by the time we get to three, shit's going to go cray cray. And I can't wait. Guys, it looked so real. When I just couldn't believe that what I was seeing on screen was real. Like that is the big thing, is I could not believe that what I was seeing was not real. The freaking Navi looked like people in makeup. I was like, that person, like Zoe Saldana is wearing makeup right now. Sam Worthington is wearing makeup right now. No, nothing is real. And that is what is astonishing about watching this film. That unless they are in the human world, which granted, they were hardly ever in with humans, they were mostly always like in their world, it's not real. So when they went into the water, I just could not believe that that water wasn't real. I couldn't believe it. It looked like they just went to Hawaii and went underground with a camera and then put people in makeup and said, "Okay, go swim." That's literally what it looked like. But to think that none of that is real. It is all CGI. Like, yeah, they were in water and had to film underwater, which is also what in the actual hell people had to learn to hold their breath for a certain amount of time so that they can film scenes. It was like, what? What? Absolutely freaking fantastic. I cannot wait to watch this movie like 3 more times. I loved it so much. It is the best movie, and I think it's just because it felt so real. It is an experience. This movie is an experience, and I think people go into it thinking like, oh, it has to have the best writing and the best acting and the best. And granted, the acting is great in this. I didn't have a problem with any of the actors. Well, I did have a problem with like I thought it was kind of weird to have Sigourney Weaver kind of like talking for a 13-year-old because I could still hear her and it sounded a little bit weird. But aside from that, like I didn't have a problem with any. I loved that it concentrated on the kids and not and Jake and Atiri were more of like put on the sidelines a little bit and it was more about the kids because eventually like this is what the story is going to grow into. Like the story is going to be about these kids. It's not going to be about Jake and Atiri anymore. I think they're making 6 of these, 5 or 6 of these movies. And Like, I'm pretty sure that's what this season, this movie was doing, was it was really developing the fact that this is going, like, these are going to be the new leads. This is where the story is going. Like, their daughter, their son, like, these people are going to be the forefront of the movies going forward, which is why we had to really set them up in this movie. And I think they all did a wonderful job. I loved watching the kids interact with each other and just really like, move the story forward. Beautiful. Of course, James Cameron really throwing in there the whole idea about, the environment and what we're doing to our oceans and our animals and how important they are. It was just beautiful. I can't say enough about how wonderful this movie is. And I don't care if you didn't like it, because I know a lot of people hated Avatar, and I was just not one of those people. I was not. I genuinely loved that film. I watched it in the movie theater a million times. I can still watch it to this day and really enjoy it. I don't care that it's like Pocahontas or Ferngully. I don't give a peep. I enjoyed it. It's an experience, and that is all I care. It was well worth the 13-year wait. Whew. Okay, and then I have an honorable mention. Disney's Lightyear this year was a movie I actually really enjoyed. It's not my favorite. I feel like Disney's kind of been wishy-washy with their movies a lot lately, and I think a lot of people are feeling it. But I thought Lightyear was a really good Pixar film. I loved Chris Evans. It had a lot of heart. I cried so much in that film. Of course, because Pixar knows what they're doing when it comes to making someone cry. But I really liked it. I think a lot of people kind of were like, "Meh, it was okay," but I genuinely have watched it more than once, and every time I watch it, I'm always like, I like this movie. I really, really like it. But that's why it's an honorable mention, is just because I really liked it. I didn't love it. It wasn't the best, but I really, really liked it. Okay, guys. Well, that's it. That is my list for the movies that I watched, the best movies for me that I watched in 2022. What were the best movies that you watched? What movie off of this list is a movie that you would have had higher, that you would have had lower? Comment down below. Let's talk about it together. But of course, guys, thank you so much for being here. If you're new here, please subscribe. And like I said, if you are already subscribed, thanks for coming back. I really appreciate you. I'll see you guys in the next video. Bye.